Hello, today we're going to look at Access. So I'm going to scroll down here in my computer applications class to Access. In Access you have two assignments. You have the training, then you have this Access Module 1 SAM End of Module Project 1. That's what we're going to look at right now. So I'm going to load the content. And I'm going to start. First thing I'm going to do is download the instructions. I'm going to enable editing, and I'm going to move these over to my other monitor so you won't see them on your screen. And now I'm going to open up my starter database. Now, if you don't have access on your computer, you might need to use the WSU Tech Remote Desktop for this project. You do not need to purchase anything. Notify your instructor if you have some questions on how to use the WSU Tech Remote Desktop. So I'm going to open the file. I'm going to enable content. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. So I'm going to save as. And over here, I want to save it as an Access database. I'm going to click Save As. I'm going to put this on my desktop. And I'm just going to put it in my Excel folder just so I can find it later. And I'm going to change this one to a 2 and say OK. Again, I need to enable content here. So we're working with competitive swim clubs, a national chain of swim clubs targeted to youth and adults who are or who want to be competitive swimmers. We're the regional manager for clubs located in the southeastern United States, and we are developing an Access database application to help manage and analyze members and club data. So we're going to open the clubs table in data sheet view and use street to rename the current address field. And then we're going to close the clubs table. So here we've got our clubs table. I'm going to open it. And right up here is my view. I can click here. I can design view or data sheet view. We want us to open it in data sheet view, which is where we're at. And we are going to change this address field to street. So I'm going to just double click on it, get rid of address, add street, and hit enter. And I've changed that name. And now we want to close the clubs table. So we're going to click on this X right here next to clubs to close. Now we're ready for number 2. We're going to create a new table in data sheet view. So up here, we're going to go to create, and we want a table, and we want to make sure that we're in data sheet view right here. The ID, we're going to rename to Coach ID. So we're going to double click right up here where it says ID, and we're going to rename that Coach ID with no spacing. And we want to change this we want it to be short text, the data type. Oh no, wait a minute. Got ahead of myself. The ID field, Coach ID, We want this to be auto number. Where is my auto number? There it is. It's right there in front of me. Auto number. Then we're going to add a field. So we're going to click over here to add using the short text data. And we're going to name this coach first name. No spaces when we're entering in field names in Access. Then we're going to add another field with the short text data, and it's going to be coach last name. And we're also going to add a field club ID. We're going to use the number data for this. So here's number. And this one we want to be club ID. Then we're going to save the table with the name coaches and close it. Name this table coaches. And then we're going to close. So we add a new table named coaches. Number 3, we're going to open up the swim fees table and add a new record that's shown in table 1, and then we're going to close the swim fees table. So come down here to swim fees. I'm going to double click to open it. And I want to add a new record, so I'm just going to come down here. It's record 7. Oops. And I'm going to tab over and I'm going to type in the information from my instruction worksheet. And there we go. I have all of my information in there. And then we want to close the swim fees table. As soon as you hit tab after your last annual fee here, you've saved your record, so you don't have to hit save. And we're going to close this. If Access wasn't sure whether you needed to save something or not, it would remind you and it would say, do you want to save this? We're going on to number 4. Open the clubs table in data sheet view. So I'm going to open up my clubs. I've got my data sheet view. Again, if you're not sure, you come here to the view tab and you can make sure you have the data sheet view. We're going to delete the record for club ID CO5. So we've got this one right here. We want to delete this record. So we can just come right up here to where it says delete. And we can delete record. It says you're about to delete it. In Access, you don't get a second chance. If you say yes, delete, you didn't mean to, too bad. It's going to be gone. So make sure you're deleting the one you want. Say yes. We're going to modify the club name value for club ID CO2, the Hillview Central Club, and we want to change this one. Our club name is now going to be Upstate Slimview, so we can just highlight it, hit your delete key, and type in the new name. Upstate Swim Group. Now we're going to close our clubs table. We've got that one all updated. Now query in Access is basically saying you're going to ask the table, the Access data sheet data, a question. Query is a fancy name for question. So we're going to create a new query using the Simple Query Wizard. So we're going to come up here to create, and we want the Query Wizard, and we just want the Simple Query Wizard. We'll say OK. We want the member from the members table. So right now we're in the clubs table. So I'm going to click here on this arrow and go down to the members table. I want the member ID, first name, last name, state, and club ID. You want to make sure you put them in this order. You're just going to select the name from the available fields, hit this little chevron, and move it over to selected fields. We're going to say next. We want to title our new query using SC members. Oops. SC members. And we want to open the query to view our information. We're going to click Finish. And so here is our query. So all we're doing is we're looking at our SC members, which is the first name, state, and their club ID. That's all we're looking at. And now we're going to close this query. So see we have a new query, SC members. Oh, I guess we weren't supposed to close that. Oh yeah, we were. Okay. In the navigation pane right over here, this is what part is referred to. It's a navigation pane. We're going to rename the members form. We've got this form here for members. We're going to rename it using member entry. So we can right click on it and rename. And we want to name this one member entry. Don't add an S in there. Make sure you name it correctly. And I have to hit the Enter key to make it stick. Now we're going to create a new form based on the swimmers table. So we're just going to come up here to our table for swimmers and just click on it to make it our active one. We're not opening it. Then we're going to come up here to create and our forms tool. And we're just going to click on this form. And it's going to create us a form based on that. And we're going to save it. We want to save this, save object. And we're going to do save as. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. I'm sorry. Cancel that. Let's back up here. I want to title this form Swimmers Info. So right here's my title. And I'm going to make it Swimmers Info with no space. Compare it to Figure 2. And it matches. And then close it. It says, do you want to save changes? Yes. Form name, Swimmers Info. Now we're going to create a report on the report using a report wizard. So we're going to go to Create, Report Wizard. And from the swimmers table, again, if you don't have this swimmers table there, just click on this little arrow to select the swimmers. We're going to choose the swimmer ID. We want first name, last name, and level ID. We're going to say next. We do not want any grouping levels, so we're going to say next. We want to sort the numbers in ascending order by level ID. We're going to say next. We want a tabular layout in portrait orientation. Next. We're going to name this swimmer by level with no spaces in it. And we're going to preview the report and finish. And so here is our swimmer by level report. Now we're going to close this. We're going to save and close any open objects if you have anything open in here. Then we're going to close this database. Click up here to close it. Come back to Blackboard, hit continue, upload. I'm going to find that Access database that I just did and open. I've got my green arrow, so I'm ready to submit it. Once it's submitted, I can view my report. I can get it to come up. Get rid of this reminder. There we go. Oh, I want to keep. And here's my grading report. Enable content so I can see it. And I got 87 out of 100. So let's look and see what I didn't do in the way they wanted it done here. New form based on the swimmers table. The database should have contained a form named swimmer info. And look what I did. I titled it swimmers info instead of swimmer info. So that's going to count me wrong. I need to go in and change that. So let's close this out. I'm going to open up that Access database again that I created in my Excel folder. Then I can come over here and I can highlight this and rename and get rid of that S, swimmer info. Enter. And now I can close this. It'll automatically save it for me. Now I can come back here and go back. Doesn't like me. Oh, I want to submit. I'm going to close this one here. Go back to my Access module. What I did was I just closed out of that one, then opened it back up in Blackboard. And I can click here, find that database, open, and submit. And I can view my reports. Now I have to say, because it's Access database, I have to say keep, because it's okay to open this document. I can enable content, and now look at my grading report, and I got 100 out of 100. So that's how you look through that grading report. Have fun with Access, learn about databases, and I'll see you next time.